The Substance is a body horror movie centered around one woman's obsession with staying young and beautiful. The film is directed by Corley Farge, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, starring Demi Moore as the age superstar, Margaret Qualley playing the superstar's perfect alter ego, and Dennis Quaid playing the classic male chauvinist in a movie centered around beauty. I think the first thing to mention about this film is the fundamentals of the filmmaking are really well done and tell the story in an interesting and novel way. The cinematography's choice of fisheye lenses and often ignoring the rule of thirds composition give an uncomfortable feeling to the film. When the film is trying to be lustful with the audience, choosing to go back to the classic meat and potatoes of cinematography to entrance the audience is great. I think the same dichotomy can be said about the editing. Knowing when to gross us out and knowing when to turn on the charm of a sexual scene. This alternation keeps the viewers interested and keeps it from being one note. The special effect makeup and CGI is well done and never let you think this isn't real until the last scene, which is just bananas. This is where we can talk about this film's influences. I think this film is a great successor in the body horror genre, specifically when comparing it to early David Cronenberg and a lesser-known Japanese filmmaker Shinya Tsukamoto, specifically the films Tetsuo the Iron Man and Tetsuo 2 Body Hammer. If you've enjoyed The Substance, you'll probably like these movies as well because they also center around body dysmorphic obsession, just in a very different way. The big difference between Cronenberg and Tsukamoto is those body horror movie modification films of the past were more of a fantasy whereas The Substance battles with it in a way of looking at it like we are at the dawn of a new era, where body modification to make ourselves more perfect has only just begun. Plastic surgery and things like Ozempic are in their beginning stages. The Substance could be a real thing in a couple of decades. Who knows what they would need to do to have us have these perfect bodies. The Substance is asking its audience if we should have restraint when it comes to these types of technology, or we should just dive in the way Elizabeth does and embrace it. We are shown a world from a Ray Kurzweil perspective where we're just brains and sleeves, and all we need to do is just use our technology to swap our sleeves out, live forever, and stay exactly as we want. This film takes down this idealized concept of the world by showing us we're impulsive creatures who eventually mess it up, because we're always searching for the next high, or if 1 is good, 2 is better. Or in Sue's case, 7 is good, 8 is better. Whether intentional or unintentional, I think this film, being centered so much around desire, has a lot of parallels to a lot of Buddhist teachings. The concept of desire in Buddhism usually is associated with what has caused suffering in our lives, and suffering being eternal. And the concept of choosing to let go and choosing to end things. With Elizabeth being so hell-bent on being perfect forever, she's tightly holding on to her desire as much as she can. This then leads to worse suffering for her because she can't have it all the time. From Buddhism's 4 noble truths, the first is that there will always be suffering, or known as dukkha. And the specific suffering Elizabeth has is, once again I'm going to pronounce this probably wrong, viparini nama dukkha, the pain of alternation or change, which is what she gets when she has to do her 7 days as Sue and her 7 days as Elizabeth. Even though Elizabeth gets to be Sue half the time, she's still suffering, and that's not enough. Going more down the Buddhism rabbit hole, we can see Elizabeth's de-evolution from Elizabeth to Sue to Monstro Eliza Sue as samsara, with poor karma with each life, being reincarnated, and then having your position in the world become worse because of poor karma. And ironically, even though the voice originally sells Sue on The Substance, gives her sort of this Buddhist concept of an out to her dilemma by telling her to let go, stop desiring to be Sue. But Elizabeth can't let go of her desire. She can't sort of begin to go down the Buddhist path. So, in theory, that's why eventually she will be reincarnated and have to go through this process again until she eventually decides to let go and work on her karma. I would say my only critique of the story of The Substance is it feels a little one note. The characters don't really deviate from their path. And I understand that is intentional, and their perspectives are taken to their most extreme point, which, once again, intentional and for the sake of the ending being so bombastic, it's important that these sort of desires and depravities of these characters are taken to their most nth degree, basically. And I do find it funny that this film highlights at the very beginning that it won Best Screenplay at Cannes, but I guess maybe the judges at Cannes and I have just different tastes, I guess. Either way, the film is a really great experience. It was not as scary as I thought it was going to be. I actually thought it was really funny, but obviously scary, grossed you out, good body horror stuff. It was a lot of fun to watch, and to me, it's a solid B movie. Thanks for listening to my analysis and review of The Substance. It would mean a lot if you would like and subscribe to the channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. It goes a long way to helping me make more of these videos. Thank you.